Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar on reducing cardholder data footprint with tokenization and other techniques. What we have observed is that many countries, many statutory regulatory bodies have mandated PCI DSS, which is a very good thing that they started, process that they have initiated. But the problem with that, unfortunately, is that for many of the organizations which are coming under the ambit of PCI DSS, they are unable to qualify or they are unable to move ahead because, simply speaking, things are too scattered. Things are not really in place as is required. So with the release of the RBI master directions for digital payments, we got many calls from many organizations that how do we go ahead with this, because simply speaking we are not aware what to do, how do we do this, and we are a small bank or we are a small organization or we are a startup, so how do we do this? So we answered quite a few, but then since we thought that this was a very prevalent situation in the industry, let us do an open webinar which will help a lot more organizations. So thank you so much for being here, and with this thing we start. And so this is the webinar objective as was circulated to you before when you signed up. And understanding the PCI DSS compliance requirements, how you can reduce the scope and learn more about the techniques for reducing cardholder data. And this is the overall topics that will be covered. PCI DSS scoping requirement, top 4 techniques, then what is tokenization in the technique, and the process of followed by tokenization. And this is the key thing actually. Tokenization is now the rage going on because apparently you can cut out many things from scope using tokenization. So how will it help your organization is something that we are looking at. So, and this is extremely important, that is you can gain CPA points attending this webinar. You get 1 CPA point where you can use it for your CISA, CISSP, CRS, CISM, PCI, QSA, so many other areas where you can use this CPE for. So it is very valuable for your professional improvement also. And for a lot more data on, for a lot more information on webinar on PCI DSS and other subjects, we have our own YouTube channel also, which is doing pretty good actually. And from what I hear from my team, it is one of the best probably YouTube channels out there, carrying the vast amount of resources, because even when I was searching and when I was new to the subject, I really wouldn't get the information which we have now published on our YouTube channel. So do go through it. And one sec, I'm just posting the link in case you are interested, and in case you're watching the recorded version of this webinar, then please do look in the comment section, and the link is there in the comment section. Yes, and there you go. That's the link that you can use for going through our webinar channel, our YouTube channel. So going ahead quickly without wasting further time, this has been a past webinars that you have published, and they have been extremely well received by the people, by so many in the industry. And you can go through it. Everything is free. Everything has no copyright attached to it. So feel free to use the content. So there are many things that has happened. Now, as we go along, do type in your queries in the question box that you have on GoToMeeting, and feel free as you go ahead to typically speaking, in a session like as lively as PCI DSS, there will be tons of queries, and unfortunately I might not have the time to answer all the tons of queries. So one thing I promise you is that I'll get back to you. In the meanwhile, what I mean by that is not the I'll be back types. I mean I'll mail you back with my queries, and if it is something really serious, we can have a call also. That's not a problem. And if you would like to have other further topics of interest that you'd like to learn more, feel free to comment on that. And we already have quite a few requests that has come in for the PCI SSF standard, and that is going to be a topic for next month. So which is like the new version of PADSS that is coming up. And as I said, it's not the answer that enlightens, but the question. So that's what keep our webinars happening and keep all people happy. So do keep the questions rolling. And this is a brief about me. Many of you already know me, and we've been doing webinars for more than 3 years. And many of the names that I see is very familiar. Many of them are our clients. And so thank you for being there. Do drop in your queries anyway. So this is about me, Narendra Sahu. I'm myself a QPA, QSA. I've done my CISA, CISSP, CRISC, and many more things. I've been in the industry for more than 25 years now. And of course, I'm familiar with most of the standards. And I've got my own company, VISTA InfoSec. And my company's been there for like more than 16 years now. So this is a brief about the company. We've been there since 2004, just to give you a brief. And these are our services that we provide. Most of it is on the regulatory compliance, SOC 1, SOC 2, GDPR, HIPAA, SOX, and stuff. We do many things in PCI DSF, PCI PIN, PADSF, SSF. We also do the web app sec, mobile app sec. We do infrastructure advisory. So many other things we provide. I'll not take up your time in running you through my company. And of course, the certifications that we provide. These are a partial list of our clients. Of course, most of you know all of the names which is there. And at the end of the webinar, there is a participation request survey. So we ask for your feedback. So when the webinar ends, or in case you decide to leave a bit early, there will be a pop-up coming which will not take you more than 2 minutes to fill. It really helps us to understand your mindset and what you're looking for and where we have missed, if at all, and how, most importantly, how we can do better. So please do fill in that. It hardly not even take you 2 minutes. So please do fill in that survey at the end of this webinar. In case you're facing any technical issues, I've got my team standing by to fix the technical issues. So do let me know in case you are having any hearing or stuff like that, any other issues, and we'll look into it. All right. So jumping right into the topic. Late in the 90s, Visa, Visa, right? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and also Visa has always been the pioneer, and Visa understood the need to protect card data to prevent breaches. And so in like 2001, June, Visa came up with its own standard for card data. And then later on, since Visa has been the market leader as always, they followed up with their own programs. And then there are the 4 programs that are called Visa had came up with CISP, Cardholder Information Security Program. MasterCard came up with the STP. Amex came up with the DSOP. Discover came up with the DISC. So all of them came up with their own standard. So now I'm sure that you will guess the problem with that. Now the problem with that is confusion, because one organization, catering to, let's say, assume they are doing all the 4 cards like most of the organizations which is there. You can't say that I'll only have Visa or only use MasterCard or only use Amex. You don't know what your clients will get. So typically speaking, if you're a bank or a merchant or a service provider, you'll end up adhering to almost all the standards. So all the standards comes with their own set of rules, guidelines, requirements, penalties, fines, all those things came up. So it became like a huge mess in the market. And I'd seen it unfold because 2001, I was in the market for what, maybe 7, 8 years. So it was just the beginning. So I'd seen it come forth. One sec, I just got a feedback. One sec. All right. So I hope you can see my screen now. I believe that the screen had frozen. I had no idea. I just did a freeze and unfreeze, and it seems to be working now. So thank you so much for my heads up on that. And again, I don't know what happened before me. All right. So there are now 4 rules, 4 set of rules, guidelines, penalties, and fines. So confusion ensued, and the outcome was something really brilliant that the industry leaders thought of. That's where the PCI Council was established by all these major brands, payment card industries, security standards council, the PCI SSC, And the founding members were the major five car brands at that time. Amex, MasterCard, Discover, Visa, and there was a JCB, Japanese Credit Bureau. Now, in case you've not heard about it, no problem. Even I haven't seen it much, but they are primarily then in Hawaii, California, and other tertiary markets, which is there. In the USA, it is there. So decided to set up a separate set of standards, and that's why PCI DSS came up. It was formed in 2004 as an independent organization in order to promote PCI DSS. Version 1.0 was published in 2005, 1.1 in 2006, 1.2 in 2008. And incidentally, to share with you, we as an organization have been involved in PCI DSS since 2007, where we are doing it, I think, for BillDesk, which is India's largest card aggregators or like a payment gateway that they have. Beautiful company to work with. And so we started off at 1.1, then 1.2, and there was another company in Dubai, Emirates Post or something, that we worked with at that time. So the latest version is version 4.0, which is latest version is 3.2.1, sorry. And what is required to be coming up as a next latest version is 4.0, expected to be released hopefully in the second or third quarters of 2021. A major upheaval going to be happening. So PCI history, of course, it's not the perfect solution. The security guidelines have come under this, and this will your compliance and IT staff will appreciate this, of course. But due to federal constraints on trade laws, the car brands cannot come together for rules and penalties. So you must still please multiple masters. So in case there is a breach, everyone will come at you separately. So Visa will come separately with its own breach guidelines, penalties, and forensics. MasterCard will come separately. Amex will come separately. So that thing cannot be consolidated. Um, and so this is what the Standard Council members look like, all contributing to the PCI Security Standards Council. And of course, just to give you one slide, of course, I'm not getting the details. Uh, in case you would like to learn more about these standards, PCI DSS, much in detail about the requirements and all, do jump across to our YouTube channel, and you can see it in the chat group. And you can go through a playlist called as PCI DSS, PCI PIN, PADSS, SSF, and all, and you'll get tons of more stuff on PCI DSS over there. So how can the cardholder data be an environment with secure? That's one of the key areas, that was bothering the council, and that was at the benchmark of the council. How can cardholder data and environment be secure? So that's where businesses falling in scope of PCI DSS will have a significant impact on the resources. So it is a major thing. It's not like you're doing a small standard or something. PCI DSS is massive as far as not just like a one-time compliance, but ongoing yearly. It's expensive and it takes time, but it's worth it. End of the day, it's worth it. It's worth the sweat and the blood. So so any systems or applications that have access, whether to encrypted or not, shall fall in scope. So many companies feel that, oh no problem, it's okay, all my data is encrypted. Yeah, but it might be encrypted. I'm not saying no for that, but please understand, even if it is getting encrypted, it is still in scope. Yes, you heard me right. Even if you data is encrypted in your organization, across the organization it's encrypted, it is still in scope. So enterprises looking for ways to simplify can certainly do so by removing the card footprint in their organization. That's the that's the number one way of doing it. Like in risk management, we hear there is something called as a risk avoidance or risk transfer. So this is a risk avoidance, that is, you can simply avoid it by reducing or totally getting rid of the card data footprint in the organization. So merchant service providers are required to size and scope the data environment. You might be having a lot of issues on or queries on what comes in scope, not scope, all those things. I'll be covering some parts of it over here, some parts, but again, I'm telling you, go through our YouTube channel. There are small 5-minute videos also in Ask the Experts, wherein we have covered various short questions on PCI DSS, SOC 2, GDPR coming up over there. We have also covered what comes in scope, what is not in scope. So those things really help you. Do go through it. Now, merchants and service providers are required to size and scope their card data environment. Scoping and analyzing the CTE will indicate likelihood of the business facing data breaches. So it is very important that you do this. And what is then scoping and segmentation? I will not spend a lot of time on this. Again, as I said, in a YouTube channel, there is a lot of content. So please do go through it over there. So this is what we have seen. We have done maybe more than 100 plus PCI assignments over the years, and importance of studying scoping and of understanding scoping and segmentation extremely important. There are many interpretations of what do you mean by adequate network segmentation, and please understand, not all are accurate. Not all are accurate. So what do you mean by adequate? So first of all, first things first, network segmentation is not a mandate under PCI DSS. It is a suggestion for you to use segmentation for reducing the scope and thereby reducing on your compliance requirements, reducing on your cost of compliance, everything. So, but it's not a mandate. Even if you don't do it, you can still pass PCI DSS. It's not a mandate. Now, there are many motivations of wanting to reduce the scope, and not all the motivations are in the best interest of security. So many a time, we've heard organizations say, "Oh, no, don't take that process in the scope. It's just one person sitting over there checking some reports and stuff like that. So no, don't touch that particular system, that particular process." Well, that is not motivation enough, because it's not really your choice of selecting the scope. Anywhere and everywhere card data is stored or transmitted or processed is scope. Even if it is one machine, it's a part of scope. If that one machine is a part of an entire segment, the entire segment is in scope. So if there is one person in a room of 20 people and that one person is accessing card data or will be working on the card data extensively, so then all the 20 people in that room, even though other 19 do not have access to the data, are considered a part of scope. So there is physical and network segmentation that is very much required under PCI DSS. So the motivation is that, okay, no man, it will take more time, it will cost more money. That's the motivation that we typically see, and that's not the way. You simply need to factually reduce your card footprint. And then improper scoping charges are contributing to compromises. Now, understand, we are a QSA company ourselves, and when you're filling a report of compliance, ROC as it is called, one of the questions that's asked to be written by the QSA is, how did the QSA determine the scope? What are the steps taken by the QSA to confirm the scope? That is extremely important. So it is not just the end user company, it is also incumbent on the QSA to confirm the scope. Now, let me tell you, in case you are a end user company and you're looking at fooling your auditor, understand, finally speaking, he'll be putting down what you have told him and shown on paper, which is his evidence as a part of documents collected or the working papers. So in case you have lied, it is still you on the line, because he will have, assuming that the auditor is smart enough, he would have stored the evidence to show that it's primarily you who told him or misrepresented the scope. So that is very, very important. Okay. Now, improper scoping has really contributed to companies getting compromised, and still, because cardholder data is extremely desirable to hackers, extremely desirable to hackers. You don't even need the card data, you don't even need the card, just the numbers, expiry and CVV is enough. So moving ahead, so bad interpretations or motivations can lead to aggressive or accidental underscoping. So no, leave this out. No, that is not required. No, that is only one application sitting on the server. Don't include that. So that is very aggressive underscoping. Now, as a QSA, if you are told and you can see a breach, you have to put your foot down. But if you are an end user company and you can see a QSA, compromising on the scope just to maybe reduce his time or whatever be the case, understand one thing, that the QSA end of the day will walk away. He'll simply say, I don't know, maybe this is what I saw when I came for the audit, and maybe they changed the environment after I left. And the CPA is off the hook, and the QSA is off the hook. So these are very bad interpretations. So if you're an organization who's certified or looking at getting certified, ensure that the scoping is done adequately, because end of the day, the buck will stop with you. All right. So which can have disastrous consequences such as bad interpretation, can lead to unnecessary overscoping also. So many a time, to be on the safe side, the QSA might even overscope. So it is not needed, but you might say, no, no, let's do it. It's okay. You'll be safe. You'll be safe. I've heard that paranoia also in QSA sometimes, but that again will ensure, that's where, it's a two-way street. As a company, you should be in a position to even question the QSA as to why are you taking this, and is it really required? Can you show me some references? And that's always appreciated, because at the end of the day, even if he overscopes, you are the one who will be required to manage it. Do not forget that. And this will result in ineffective allocation of security resources, because it really needs a lot of time and money. More important, time and money. So let's get into what you mean by in scope and out of scope. One second. So what does it mean then to be in scope and out of scope? So every PCI DSS requirement, this is something that you need to understand. There are 280 plus requirements in PCI DSS. So when you say in scope, it doesn't mean that all the requirements are required. All the requirements are applicable. That all the requirements are applicable to all the assets in scope and all the processes in scope. There are some requirements that are only there for some, and there are some requirements that are applicable only for yeah, one sec, I think it is. All right. Yeah. So what is so not all requirements are applicable for all systems, and requirements applied at the network level rather than on every system which is there. So there are some requirements only applicable for some system or function or use. So for example, there are some requirements meant only for the, say, the development environment. There are some requirements only meant for, say, the wireless enterprise. There are some requirements only for, say, firewalls. There are some requirements only for how you do the log management and reporting. So and there are some at the network level. So there are some requirements which call for a network level PT or network level segregation, or stuff like that. So, or how networks segmentation is done. And again, let me be specific on things, because there are people who misuse or colloquially use the words. There is a difference between segmentation, network segmentation, and network segregation. Network segmentation is just putting separate systems into separate segments, which is a mandate. Okay, so for example, the network, the PCI mandates that you have a separate DMZ for your public facing sites. The the PCI standard also mandates that the database should not be directly accessible. Database network or database systems should not be directly accessible from the internet. It also mandates that only the application server should have access to the database data, and between them there should be a firewall. So this is called segmentation. And when you're talking about the segregation, what happens is that you are intentionally summarizing or restricting the scope or consolidating your scope to ensure that the card data environment and that there is a non-card data environment. So in the card data environment, there is only those systems or processes which are concerned with card data, and in the non-card data environment, there is systems and processes not concerned with card data. So please get the words clear. So, and there are controls to reduce applicable of certain PCI DSS requirements, but this must be verified by the QSA. Now again, something like a wireless network, wireless controls are there. So in case you are not referring to it, then it'll you're not having wireless in the enterprise, then it will reduce the applicability of these wireless requirements. And then what does out of scope mean? Simply speaking, it's untrusted. PCI has nothing to do with it. Now, as a QSA, we need not be doing any security evaluation or validation of any of your, card out of scope systems. It is not required. I'm not supposed to be doing it. Neither can those be recorded in your report. If you're doing it otherwise, you can do it in an unofficial way, but it's not really a mandate for you. So no security evaluation or validation. And remember this thing, last but not the least, if any out of scope system could lead to a CDE compromise, card data environment compromise, it should not have been considered out of scope. So when we are as a QSA, when anybody comes to us and says, should this be in the card data environment or not, or can that be excluded? What we simply look at it in a way is, in case the system is compromised directly or indirectly, will this lead to card data compromise? Or can this machine be used, or can this system or process be used for compromising on card data? If yes, that system should be in the card data environment, should be considered as a part of in scope, and should be shifted immediately into the card data environment. If directly or indirectly, if a system is compromised, it will have no effect on the card data environment, then you can consider it to be out of scope. But if the system can be compromised, and directly through the system or via the system, somebody can jump into another system and that system can compromise the card data, then also this system should be considered in the card data environment. In scope, I mean. I hope that made sense to you. If you have any queries, do drop in. So scoping in short involves identification of people, process, and technology, PPT, that that interact with or could impact the security of your card data, cardholder data, CHD's cardholder data. So these are the four things that we look at, and there is a nice video on our YouTube channel under Ask the Experts, which is simply to whom is PCI DSS applicable, something like that. It's a 5-10 minute video. It will explain this thing much in detail. So including systems that connect to CD is in scope, systems that provide segmentation is in scope, systems that provide security to cardholder data, card data environment is in scope, and systems that could impact a card data environment security are in scope. So it is not only systems. This is a huge misconception. Please understand, it is a huge misconception that only systems that are transmitting, storing, or processing card data is in scope. No, all of these four systems, that is four other requirements, system that connect to CDE, provide segmentation, providing security to the CDE, and system that impact the security of the card data environment are in scope. So scoping concepts, remember, any system located in the card data environment are considered in scope, irrespective of the function or reason as to why they are in scope. So we've had this experience as QSAs that the client would say, no, don't include this in scope. Please don't include, because it is just a file server. There is no card data on that. But that system is sitting in the card data environment. So since it is in the environment, even if there has got nothing to do with card data, it is still in scope. People, process, technology. If it is there in the card data environment, whether it is whether it is storing, processing card data or not, whether it's got anything to do with card data or not, it doesn't matter, it is in scope. Similarly, any systems that connect to a system in card data environment are in scope. regardless of the functionality or the reason why they have a connectivity to this card data. So I'll give you an example. We finished the assessment of a large enterprise, and they had an application sitting in the card data environment, and they had outsourced the management of that application to a third-party provider. Okay, listen to me carefully. To a outside third-party provider. Now, this third-party provider, whenever there is a requirement, they will directly connect via VPN to the production environment and do whatever has to be done. So we asked them, are they PCI DSS compliant? They said, no, no, but they are not touching the cardholder data. They are just touching, they are maybe doing the database tuning. They are doing, some updates on the code in case there is, some issues that has come up in the code or some update that needs to be done to the code. So, but they have nothing to do with the card data. They are not having access to it. So my point to them was simple. That is the second point, that any systems that to a card that connect to a system in the card data environment are in scope, regardless of their functionality or the reason they have connectivity. Oh no, these are just support people. No, they are not really opening the database for the card. No. If they're touching the network, they're a part of scope. It's as simple as that. So, okay, somebody's dropped a question. Okay, so what happened to them? Okay, so see what happened is that in this case, we had to tell them either get that service provider compliant or you include them in scope. So there was a big ruckus on that because the service provider refused to get PCI DSS compliant. They said we are not getting paid enough to get PCI DSS compliant. End of the day, this client of ours had to pay us extra to increase our scope and take that vendor also in scope. So this is where it made a huge difference for them because it delayed the time, it delayed the cost, it extended the cost also. So anything and everything, people, process, technology, and system components, everything, network devices, servers, computing devices, applications, everything is in scope. Then how you do scope? As I said earlier, all systems included in or connected to the cardholder data environment are in scope. It comprises of the people, process, technology, the store, process, or transmit cardholder data or sensitive authentication data. Now, sensitive authentication data is different from cardholder data. The authentication data is typically that Stripe data, the CVV, those come under the sensitive authentication data, also called as SAD or SAD. It makes you sad. So, okay, examples of system components that may be in scope. See, this is something which is very important for you to look into. So, look at the first one, systems providing security services. Now, tell me something like a WAF. Okay, they are providing security for the card data environment, web application firewall. Now, they don't have access to the card data at all. Then why are they in scope? Because as per the PCI guidelines, I'll just take you back to that slide. For this external service provider, the fourth one, system that impact card data environment would come into place. So for example, in case this service provider would have got compromised, he could have entered this major enterprise, very secure network and compromise everything. So we have to keep it in mind. It's not a simple thing. It's a very complex thing. And again, I would say that in case you have any queries, better discuss it out with the QSA in advance. So this is the network segmentation that we are hoping for. We are keeping this in scope, not in scope. It's very important. Don't just bring in your QSA at the last moment. By last moment, I mean like when you have got everything in place. Because in case the auditor changes everything, he says, no, this is not correct, that is not correct. You will not have the time to fix the gaps, and then your entire assignment will go for a toss. So my friendly advice to everyone is that bring in your QSA early and identify these scoping areas with them first, so that there are no hidden surprises later on. So as we saw earlier, there are many motivations for reducing security. Everything is not. And okay, okay. So yeah, this is what we had seen earlier. PCI DSS applies to all systems and networks that store, process, and transmit cardholder data, including network equipment and including encrypted data, which still falls in scope. This is something that I don't get tired repeating also, because we have seen so many places where they actually have made a mistake. And look at this. This is like a brief diagram of another company where they have kept everything in scope. So including your sensors, web portal, there is a store which is there as an online employees, and there is back office for repairs. So there are so many, and then there are those individual arms of the students. So brother, so what happens with this is, end of the day, it is something, network segmentation and storage is extremely critical for you. And look at this. So compliance scope, once you've identified what is in scope and what is out of scope, you can have these segments built into your network for better connectivity and keep all your segments routed through the firewall, which in case the firewall itself has to be in scope. And as we have seen earlier, if your organization is handling financial card data, PCI PIN requirements are PCI DSS requirements are applicable if all the card number, the PAN number as it is called, is stored or processed or transmitted. Failure to comply will result in severe surcharges, fines, and even increase your liability in case of a data breach. So, because in case you get compromised, Visa might say that no, we'll have to increase our transaction fee. The reason being, you are an unsafe company, and we are carrying a liability if we keep you with us. Your acquirers may say, no, we can't work with you on whatever percentage. You'll have to double it because you are not a safe company. In case anything happens, the liability is on me. So all those things happen. So do keep posted on uh, the different strategies for reducing your scope. And again, as I said, you can go to a YouTube channel. There is a video, multiple videos on that. So reducing the scope or cardholder data environment. Finally, we have initiated the process for that, or the slides for that. Finally, that is. So very important, very important, as I can say, is to identify the scope. Which people, which process, which technology are dealing with card numbers, whether storage, processing, transmission, or providing a service that can impact the security of the card data environment. That's very important that you do this two things first. And once they have been identified, then try to reduce the scope by limiting the cardholder data footprint in the enterprise. Then you can say that, okay, two people are sitting here, two people are sitting there, five people are sitting this. Why don't you all come over to this office and we allocate maybe half a floor for you, and then that makes it easier for you. So that could be something that uh, many companies that you have seen move towards. So while it is impossible to completely eliminate or reduce the cardholder data, there are methods to, considerably reduce and simplify the PCI scope. So these are the four techniques that we have mentioned earlier in the mail. In the mail, the network segmentation. Yeah, sorry, I pressed twice. Yeah, network segmentation, P2PE, tokenization, and finally outsourcing. Network segmentation, as you've seen earlier, involves isolating the cardholder environment from the rest of the company's network. This is how you work in a professional, very army background, army attire. That people are standing at the that the firewalls are there as the sentry between the two segments, controlling what data can flow between what, and ensuring absolutely no data flows between the non-card data environment and the card data environment. So those things are there, and there is an earlier webinar on PCI DSS scoping and networking. You should go take a look at that, and give me a moment. I'll post that also over here, so you're not searching for it much. So this video on scoping and all of PCI DSS has been our number one of the topmost watched videos on the YouTube channel for us, and so I'm just putting that down over here. Rather, it's one of the first webinars also that we had done, ages back. And yeah, here you go. Okay, I hope you can see it. This is another video on a very detailed video on segmentation and scoping. So the next technique is tokenization. It's the process of simply devaluing or taking away the value of your data. What I mean by that, credit card numbers have a huge value because of which there is a tendency of these breaches and hacks happening. So in case you are able to take away that valuation of the data, nobody would bother you at all, because then the data has no value to them. So tokenization is in the tokenization process, in very simplified manner, I can say it is more for converting sensitive data and replacing the cardholder data with a random set of numbers, which looks like a credit card. It will be the same 16-digit or 15-digit card number, but it is not a valid card number. So it looks like one, but it's not one. We'll come into this later. There is P2PE, so it is more of a solution, P2PE solutions, wherein the entire end-to-end flow is protected by protected networks, protected devices, protected processing of the data. So P2PE is that, and so somebody has implemented, organization has implemented a P2PE solution. They are subject to much lesser PCI requirements. Now, outsourcing is something that we have seen happening a lot in banks, especially some of smaller banks. So again, it could be the wrong environment also, but typically speaking, outsourcing is something that has taken the market by storm. What organizations are doing is that just hire an external consultant, get the handover from your internal team to show the external consultant how you are managing this particular network or this particular data, and they do it on their own. And so many companies that you have seen have outsourced maybe their payment gateways, have outsourced maybe their bill pay networks, have outsourced maybe your card printing and circulation, and also that's an outsourcing. But remember, even if you outsource, then PCI DSS would not be in scope. If you outsource it everything, there is literally no card data at any time in the enterprise, whether stored or processed or transmitted. Many a time we hear silly excuses. No. It's just for a few hours that the data is there, and then the data is deleted. So understand, even if the data is there for even 5 minutes in a day, it would be considered as a part of scope. Now, there is look at the second point that is there, simply moving to a PCI DSS compliant cloud hosting platform. So this will be more from the solution based architecture, wherein somebody has actually hosted the credit card applications, and you are accessing those applications on a license basis. Otherwise, even if you outsource it to somebody else, the responsibility and accountability still lies with you. So, oh man, what is happening here? I'm sorry, team. I don't know why this is getting frozen again and again. We never face this problem with GoToMeeting. We've been using it for so many years now, and we never faced such issues. I'm sorry. I hope you can see it better now. Tokenization. I hope you can see the screen proper now. I really hope it doesn't freeze anymore. Anyway, so what is tokenization? Tokenization is the process of replacing a card number with an alternate set of characters or elements that have no significant value. As I said earlier, it will look like a 16-digit number, but that 16-digit number is not a card number. So it is a technique that involves replacing sensitive data with non-sensitive elements randomly generated, and that's known as a token. That token is unique for a particular transaction or a person. So it retains all the relevant information without compromise. There is no way that you can reverse engineer a token and get the card number from it. So so it is very different from encryption, wherein it does not need to be, the token need not be encrypted or decrypted, to be stored or processed or transmitted, which is a mandate in case the card number is an actual card number. So then how does this thing work? This tokenization, how does this thing work? So typically speaking, see, we are doing this now with a couple of this applications, even with NPCI. So I'm not telling you the process of NPCI, but typically speaking, it's catching up in the market. But this happens transparently in the background, so it is nothing that you have to manage or you have to take care of the tokens. So when the cardholder initiates the online purchase with the input of sensitive card data, credit card data, so he goes online and he puts in the card data. Uh, so this card data is immediately sent, sent to token issuer via the merchant and the acquiring bank. So it can be that this merchant, like in Amazon, might be directly interacting with the token issuer, or the acquiring bank is interacting with the token issuer. So then the card data goes into the token issuer's vault, and gets stored in the token issuer's vault, and what is sent back to the merchant is the token. So after that, the merchant uses only the token for transactions of any and all sort. So when the transaction actually happens, the merchant sends a token to the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank sends a token to the token issuer. The token issuer will then get that original card number from the data vault and send it to the issuer of the card. First it goes to the acquiring, then it goes to the issuer bank. The issuer bank will check the card details, because now it is the actual card details, and decide whether to authenticate or authorize the process, the transaction or not. In case it's authorized, it will send it the authorization code is then sent back directly to the merchant. So that's how it typically is typically working. So there could be different models. It could be that the acquiring bank is interacting directly with the token provider to get the outcome, but typically speaking, there is a module sitting on that web application or mobile application, which takes your card number and just sends it directly to the token provider, and gets a token which is then stored on the merchant side. So it's a bit complicated, but I really hope you are getting the message. And that token, incidentally, can be used only by that particular merchant. It is not something that you can quote it and use it in a reusable manner. I've got a nice query, but I'm unable to understand it. Is the token issuer the service provider handling? Is the token issuer the service provider handling card data? I'm sorry, I don't understand the query. Can you please post it again? Or if you can just elaborate a bit more. All right, so that's how a tokenization works with the card details. And so what is a tokenization card data? What is the footprint over there? So there's a secure data vault, because obviously the token provider has to store the card data somewhere, and the correlating token number issued for that card detail, and who's the merchant also for that. So that is all stored in the secure card vault. So in case, there is also possible that the card detail might be entered wrong. So in that case, a wrong token might go to the token issuer, in which case token issuer can simply say it's not my card and close it out. There is something called as data surrogates. Actually speaking, you know, I was surprised quite a bit at the way um, this data surrogacy happens. It's a very simple process, a very novel process that we see it happening. Okay, so there is a difference actually also in the way the secure data vault works and data surrogacy happens. So in the data surrogacy, in the process of tokenization, a token is used as a replacement or as a surrogate value to the actual sensitive data, and this token is called as a surrogate. Please understand that. And the token represents the original data which is encrypted and stored in the central data vault. So in the process, the application does not contain any credit card data or information, including the data in an encrypted format. So understand that data is heavily now devalued because it's not an encrypted card data, which is, in case the encryption data goes out, then you can decrypt and see the whole card data. But in this case, there is no card data. You cannot reverse engineer a token value to get the actual card data. So understand that. And that card data cannot be used anywhere. So that is what is data surrogacy is all about. And whatever is there as a surrogate data, it falls outside of PCI DSS scope. There is a relational token that is there. So this is something which is done once in a while, if I can say that. So tokenization facilitates a one-to-one data relation token between the credit card number and the token to maintain referential integrity across platforms. So the referential integrity allows for a transaction analysis to tokens, thus eliminating the need for accessing the sensitive card number directly. This helps remove the sensitive card data out of the environment, thus reducing the card data footprint and the PCI scope. So understand this data relation tokenization, data relation token. It facilitates a one-to-one relation between the credit card number and the token. So the token is what we call earlier as the data surrogate, and there is something called as the data relation token, which helps correlate that this token number points actually to which card number, and these tokens have no value. So again, I'm repeating this as tokens are replaced with an alternate set of characters or elements that have no value, significant value at all. And so these numbers, these tokens, are something that is transmitted, and the original data on the other hand is securely stored in the central vault data, central data vault with no outside access directly. Right. So it becomes like a massive repository of card data. So understand that that's the key takeaway over here, that reducing the card data footprint is crucial for it helps reduce the scope of compliance. Now with less sensitive data, it translates into fewer compliance requirements, which may in turn enable quicker audits. Because simply speaking, if it is our card data is tokenized, then that entire tokenized flow is not a part of scope. And not just that, reducing card data footprint in the environment will in a way also prevent incidents of data, because now no hacker in his right frame of mind would want to compromise on your tokenized repository or sniff into your tokenized network, because it simply doesn't mean anything. So whatever is the cardholder data footprint also in the tokenized environment, cardholder data footprint in the environment also reduces the cost of compliance, because now you did not be spending to implement the PCI DSS controls on a tokenized section of the network. So it is really something that is coming out very, very, very nice and very well done. Anyway, so that brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm sorry we started late and there are these technical issues happening midway. But thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. And again, as a gentle reminder, please to share your valuable feedback. Your opinion is extremely important to us. And okay, this is our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our LinkedIn page, and so there are many things happening. We post a lot of content. At least 2 to 3 articles are posted every month, if not more. We've got published in more than 40 plus journals and magazines, so those get published also. And these are our contact details. So please do feel free to drop us a line in case you think there is some place or some area where we can interface together. So thank you again for your time. Stay safe. Take care. Bye bye.